Is it just me, or have you also ever noticed that some of the wealthiest people in the world don't care about showing off their wealth all that much? Take Warren Buffett's example in this case. He has $150 billion to his name in his net worth. Yet, he still lives in the same house that he bought in 1958 for $31,500 at that time, which is currently, that property is worth $1.4 million. And he obviously can afford to live in a much more expensive, much more luxurious place. Yet, he does not. Neither does he buy expensive cars or luxury watches. But why would that be the case? It's because looking poor is not about just being humble, it's about a business strategy. And I learned it a very hard way. Now, giving my own example, back when I was in India and I was making about $1,500 a month, I used to aspire to have a closet full of luxury bags. When I moved to the US and I was living in New York City, making 10 times the amount that I was making in India, I decided to buy an LV or Gucci, thinking that, oh, I have made it in life, now I deserve it. I obviously work very hard and I have worked very hard to reach this state. So obviously, I should have it, right? And I can afford it. That is a trap right there. I can afford it. Guess what happened after that? Nothing. Nothing at all in my life changed. In fact, I never even used those bags. So, whatever I have learned from some of the mistakes that I have made, I want to talk about in this particular video. But before that, I want to talk about one of the biggest secrets wealthy people gatekeep from you, which is that their expenses never increase in proportion to their income. And that is how they continue staying wealthy. Now, what do I mean by that? It's this concept called lifestyle inflation, which is that if you're making $100, assume that if you're making $100 and you're spending 100 and you're really struggling, you don't know how to make your ends meet, you save zero. But then suddenly one day your income increases to 200 or 300 and you decide that, oh, I can afford a fancy vacation or I can afford something that I could not at that $100 scale. And now I want to spend it all because, well, I deserve it. I have made it. I've struggled for it. And again, you end up with zero. So what did you really achieve? Nothing. And this is why in today's video, I'm going to give you 3 reasons why looking poor might be the wisest financial decision that you can make. And it's coming from dozens of books that I have read about money and from my own lived experiences as well as mistakes. Reason number 1, it never stops. Once you get into this rut where you think that your worth is associated with the things that you have, the kind of clothes you wear, and how people perceive you because of these things, it never stops. You'll always find a way to get the next best thing if this is what you associate your worth with. Looking at my own personal example, when I was in India and I was making about 25,000 rupees a month, like $300 in today's day, I used to feel like owning a Da Milano bag is very aspirational for me. When I reached that 50k mark, I used to think that a Michael Kors bag is very aspirational, or a Coach bag. Eventually it became Tory Burch, and then I moved on to Gucci, and then I moved on to an LV. And that's where I've stopped as of now. And I want to sell these ASAP so that I can get that money and invest it. But after an LV, I will want a Dior or a Chanel. And then I will want an Hermes. And this cycle can never end because there is a bag that is available for millions of dollars too. So no matter how much money I make, I will find a way to blow it all. But where will it lead me? And am I going to be this person who is appearance rich but cash poor? I don't want to be that. And neither should you. And you know what? There's a term in psychology that explains this concept. It's called the hedonic treadmill, which basically means that no matter what you do to achieve a certain level of happiness, eventually you're going to return back to your usual stable state. If you like this video so far, please consider hitting that like button because it helps more people discover these ideas. And I would be extremely grateful, and it costs you nothing. And now it's time for us to move on to our reason number 2, where we are going to discuss more deeply about why is it that we even want to buy these things. So reason number 2 for why it's totally worth it to look poor is that you stop chasing approval and build genuine, authentic relationships. Now, to understand this more deeply, let's figure out why is it that people buy expensive things. And I will ask you directly by giving you an example. Pick something between these 2 t-shirts. Now, both of them cost roughly the same amount of money, but if you chose this option, then you're most likely doing it because you want to impress others and show them that you have the money to buy all these things. Whereas if you take the example of Mark Zuckerberg, who is a billionaire, but he always wears these plain t-shirts, which anyway like cost 400, $500 or sometimes even more. But no one needs to know because he can obviously show his wealth through the kind of great work that he's doing in the world. So in short, all I'm saying is that most of the times we are buying things to impress others. But does it even have a point? And in this, I want to give a quote from Morgan Housel, who wrote this best selling book, Psychology of Money. Spending money to show people how much money you have is the fastest way to have less money. Do you agree with me? Let me know in the comments below. Living modestly or within your means allows you to escape this constant trap of status games, because all you're going to attract if you're just buying things to impress other people is shallow relationships. And I don't know about you, but I would rather have people who want to be my friends because of the kind of values I have, because of my character, because of the kind of ideas I bring, and not because of what bag I'm carrying. And on this point, one thing I definitely want to bring up is the kind of social media posts that I see, and I'm sure that you also see, which makes you want to have certain things. So I'm from Faridabad, which is very close to Delhi, and I went to school and college in Delhi. And I used to see all these family rich people who would carry their luxury bags a certain way. Like they would never carry it on the side. Like if you're wearing a crossbody bag, you don't carry it on the side. You're always carrying it in a way that it should be visible in all the pictures that you post. The logo, everything should be out here up front. And honestly, being a woman, I know that I never carry my bag like that unless I'm in an area where I know I have a risk of being pickpocketed. And let's be honest, no one is getting pickpocketed on a farmhouse where that picture is being clicked for Instagram. But again, I used to be this person who used to look at those pictures and feel like, oh, this is the sign of being rich, and I also want to be rich like that. It's only when I purchase certain things that rich people buy is when I realize that they don't bring me any joy. I still like to go to dive bars for my drinks. I still like to go to like hole in the wall kind of restaurants if they have good food that I like. I never care about fancy dinner dates, etc. So what am I even trying to prove? And what are they trying to prove? Because if they have this need to flaunt so much through their social media platforms, but a billionaire like Warren Buffett or Mark Zuckerberg don't, then who am I trying to emulate? And the answer was very clear to me, and I hope it becomes clearer to you as well. So, the TLDR version of this is that if you stop seeking shallow approval, you're going to attract people who value you for who you are rather than what you own. And finally, reason 3, a rich life is not worry from social upkeep. It's actually freedom from worry. Look, the point I'm trying to make is that living below your means or within your means is not about depriving yourself. You don't always need to deprive yourself and think about minor expenses or things that bring a very small dent in your monthly budget. But what it truly means is that it gives you the freedom to spend on things that truly matter. For example, in my situation, as someone who is living in the US and my parents are in India, I never have to want to worry about a situation where they need me for anything and I'm thinking about how expensive the flight is. Even if it is $4,000, I want to have enough money to be able to afford that. Now think, would I be able to afford it if in my whatever salary I have, I'm spending on the latest Chanel coat or the latest LV bag or looking at designer coffee tables for my living room? 100% not, because I would literally be living paycheck to paycheck despite making enough money for thriving in the city. So the situation where I feel I will actually be living a rich life is where emergencies seem like minor inconveniences in your life. So here's the big takeaway. Looking poor is not about not spending on nice things ever. It's just about prioritizing what truly matters. If you're living below your means, you're able to gain financial freedom, build authentic, genuine, true relationships, and never have to worry about unnecessary things that cause worry to people who are living paycheck to paycheck. One last thing though before I go, if you like this video, please do consider liking, sharing and subscribing. It really helps with the channel's growth and it keeps me motivated too. Bye.